In today's demo video, we will be going over the somatic cell count analysis. This analysis is only available for those who import milk tests into your program. To access the somatic cell count analysis, you can go through the cow head, in health and treatments, and then in SCC analysis. When the SCC analysis is open, you will see a grid. All of the animals in the herd are in this grid with their basic lactation information. You also have the last test date information with milk production, fat and protein percentages, and most importantly, you have your cell count for the last 6 milk tests that were imported into the program. This is a value times 1,000. So for example, cow number 243 at the test from January had 91,000 somatic cell count. There are many colors in this grid. When the animal exceeds the limit that we have established in the properties, it will go in red. For example, cow 132, her test from November, she was at 1,363, so she's over the 250,000 limit, so she is considered newly infected because the test prior she was under the 250,000. We can also see some numbers in green. So for example here, she's at 200,000, so she's considered cured since the test prior she was over the limit and now she is under. The last color you will notice is the purple. The purple is when 2 consecutive tests the animal is over the 250,000 limit that we've established in the properties. She will be considered chronically infected. You will also notice little red lines. For example, cow 104, her milk test from December to January has a little red line, which means that she had a mastitis event entered into her animal record. Same thing happened for January to February, another little red line that shows that she had another mastitis event. The before last column is the number of tests in the current lactation. For example, cow 243 has had 3 tests in this current lactation, and one of the 3 she's been over the exceeded limit that we have set in the properties. The last column is quite interesting. It is the percentage of your herd that this animal represents in somatic cells. So for example, cow 243 represents 6% of your herd's somatic cell count. There are also several graphics available in the SCC analysis. You can access them by going on Graphics on the bottom right-hand corner. You will see there are different tabs at the top here with different graphics. The first graphic is the SCC breakdown. This graphic breaks down the different levels of somatic cells and tells you how many cows are in each level by displaying them on a pie graph. You can choose if you want to see all lactations or only certain lactations. The second graph is the somatic cells over the last 2 years. The blue line represents the percentage of cows per test that are over the 400,000. The orange line represents the percentage of animals over 200,000. And then the red line is the herd average of somatic cells for each test. The third graphic is the comparison over the 2 last milk tests. You can choose which milk test you want to look at and compare by clicking on the dates over here and changing the date. On the vertical axis, we have one milk test, and on the horizontal, we have another. Each little square is a cow, and if we put our mouse over this square, we can see over here in animal data which animal it represents, as well as her lactation number and her days in milk. In the green section, we have the cured animals. In the white section, we have the healthy animals. And then in the purple section, once again, we have the chronically infected, and in red, the newly infected. This allows us to not only verify one milk test, but two milk tests to see where our animal is situated. The third tab is the analysis per milk recording. You will have a bar graph, and each bar is one date and represents a number of animals. In white, once again, you'll have your healthy animals. In green, your cured. Purple, chronically infected, and in red, your newly infected. You can once again choose which lactations you would like to see on this graph. The next one is the SCC trend. So you can see the different trends of the cows and the heifers, as well as lines identifying what our goals are. We also have a graph with new infections per test, so the percentage of new infections for each test. And lastly, we have the average somatic cell for the first milk test after the calving. So this will only be your fresh cows and fresh heifers that will appear on this with an average of somatic cells. In blue, we have the first lactations, and in orange, you will have your cows, second lactation, and more. If we want to go back to the grid, we can click on Grid. It is important to go in the properties and establish what our maximum somatic cell count is for the first lactations and the cows. You can edit these values by clicking on Edit. You can change these values right here and then push on OK. And save settings and push OK once again. If you have any questions regarding the somatic cell count analysis, please feel free to reach out to our help desk.